How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 5000, and today we're going to take a look at several Clipper systems that are expected to move through the Northeast, as well as our next potential major winter storm that could impact large areas of the Midwest and the Northeast by the time we approach next week. So let's first begin with that long-term forecast. So we'll be moving forward right around the February 5th through the 6th time frame, and we clearly see, based on the latest depiction of the GFS model's forecast, we see a large area of snowfall impacting Minnesota, Wisconsin, the northern portion of Illinois, and into Iowa as well, and going into the Dakotas as well. And it doesn't stop there. It continues to move further eastward, bringing quite a large area of heavy snowfall extending into the Great Lakes region and eventually into the Northeast, where we'd be talking about anywhere between 5 to 8 inches of snowfall, potentially more than that in localized areas. So this would be very significant, and of course it would impact a lot of the more populated areas of the Midwest and Northeast. But taking a look at the forecast hour, of course, there's still a lot of time to really get the details correct when it comes to a forecast like this, especially when we have the European model not necessarily agreeing with this depiction. While it certainly agrees with how exactly the storm system will develop, it's definitely very different when it comes to where exactly the heaviest snow will fall, because if we were to take a look at the European model's depiction of this forecast on the other end, we see that the snowfall is a lot further northward, mainly impacting the extreme northern portions of the Great Lakes, portions of Minnesota as well, and pretty much right at the Canadian United States border of the Northeast, rather than bringing that snowfall as far south as Philadelphia. So there's definitely a big difference when it comes to the forecast, and unfortunately that does raise the uncertainty when it comes to a forecast like this. The key thing we're going to need to pay close attention to is, as you'd expect, the amount of ridging we'd see over the eastern United States, because we see in the European models scenario the ridging is a lot stronger by the time we approach this time period. So this low pressure system would be forced a lot further northward, and the southerly flow would be a little bit too strong to allow that snowfall to move further southward and impact the areas further southward. While if we were to take a look at the GFS model on the other end, this ridge is a lot weaker. It has much more of an opportunity to bring that cooler air further southward with a weaker southerly flow associated with a weaker amount of ridging. So we're definitely going to need to pay very close attention to this. I won't say we'll get a good idea of how strong the ridging will be until this weekend, because that's when we'll see the ridge move right over the southwestern United States, and this time period right here will be a key determinant in how strong that ridge will eventually be. So I'll say by this weekend, we'll definitely get a more accurate forecast of what's going to happen, if the snowfall will impact the areas further southward or will impact the areas further northward into the United States. I'll definitely keep you guys updated over the next several days regarding that forecast. We see in the GFS model scenario, the ridge doesn't necessarily intensify much, but it's a different story when we take a look at the European model, where we see this ridge intensify quite a bit by the time we approach early next week, where we see those darker reds, which represents a strong sinking motion and just a strong ridge that would be able to promote a strong southerly flow to make the temperatures a bit too warm for a winter storm to happen in the areas sort of southward. So that's definitely something we're going to certainly need to keep in mind. Here's the European model's forecast, the 12Z run. We see that this ridge intensifies quite a bit by the time we approach this weekend. So wait till the Saturday and Sunday time frame to get a better idea of what's going to happen with this forecast. But if this snowstorm were to happen, it would happen, like I said, anywhere between February 5th through the 6th. So that would be between Thursday and Wednesday of next week. So definitely pay close attention to that over the Midwest, or at least keep an eye on this, because there is that possibility of a major winter storm. Let's say the GFS model was 100% correct. How significant would this snowstorm be? So if we were to take a look at that, we easily see a large area of 3 to 6 inches of snowfall, and in the Northeast we potentially see a little bit more than that. This, of course, it impacts a lot of the big cities like Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Detroit, and into New York City. So this is something we're going to keep tabs on over the next few days, as I'll certainly keep you guys updated. Now, of course, that's not the only thing we're paying close attention to over the next few days, especially when it comes to the Northeast, because we do currently have a Clipper system moving through that's bringing mostly light to moderate snow showers over upstate New York. It's moving towards nearly a southwest easterly direction, so we could see that snowfall impact some areas of New England. Boston maybe could get involved with some snow showers. Of course, into much of Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, you definitely need to watch out for light snowfall for tonight and going into early tomorrow morning. And there is maybe that slight possibility the snowfall could move southward into northern New Jersey and New York City, but snowfall accumulation, at least in these areas, and I'll say in New England as well, will mainly be light. I'll say anywhere around probably less than an inch of snow in most of these areas. However, for a place like upstate New York, the snowfall accumulation should be a bit higher than that. I'll say a range of 2 to 5 inches of snowfall in this area. The snowfall is rather light, so you won't necessarily get that accumulation right away since the snowfall rate is fairly light, but it's a relatively slow moving area of snow showers, so it should bring a decent amount of accumulation. So you need to watch out for slick roadways, potentially for your morning commute in a lot of these cities in upstate New York, like Albany, Rochester, and into Buffalo as well. Definitely pay close attention to that going into tomorrow morning. But that's not the only winter storm that we're paying close attention to that could impact the Northeast, at least when it comes to Clipper system, because we have 2 more on the way for much of the interior Northeast. So here's a quick look at the other Clipper systems we're taking a look at. Of course, this is the one that's ongoing right now, so pay attention to anywhere between 2 to 5 inches of snowfall for much of the interior Northeast. But beyond that point, we do have another low that's going to develop out of an upper level low. So we were talking about that possibility of maybe the snowfall impacting the areas further southward. However, the GFS model mainly relegates snowfall to the interior Northeast, where we do, but it does bring quite a bit of snowfall to upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and there might be that possibility that Boston gets involved as well. This would happen right around Saturday, so definitely keep that in mind potentially for your weekend commute. And however, there's still a decent amount of uncertainty with this forecast, because on the other end, if we were to take a look at the European model scenario, the snowfall is a lot further northward, almost exclusively impacting the upper portion of upstate New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire, and of course into Maine as well. While Boston, it's entirely a rain event, and it's not even like you guys are close to the rain snow line. This rain snow line is going to be quite a bit further northward, at least compared to the GFS model. So there's still uncertainty regarding this forecast. Definitely stay tuned. Of course, it really all depends on just the strength of the ridging just to the north of it, because the thing that the European model is expecting is that it expects there not to be as much of a blocking pattern. And what that does is that allows the storm system to be able to move further northward. And of course, that brings the warmer air associated with this storm system further northward earlier. So we see a stronger southerly flow. So that mainly relegates the snowfall to the interior Northeast portions, while for the GFS model, we see the blocking pattern is definitely stronger, so that allows the cooler air mass to exist over New England and upstate New York for the snowfall to be further southward to impact areas as far south as Albany and potentially Boston as well. So you definitely need to pay close attention to those details. But what I could say with certainty is that the Adirondacks, the upper portions of Vermont and New Hampshire, you definitely should be preparing for anywhere between 3 to 6 inches of snowfall. Taking a quick look at the GFS model's forecast when it comes to this specific Clipper system. So this was the first Clipper system, like I said, expect anywhere, but mostly between 2 to 4 inches of snowfall, at least in the lower elevations. Of course, in the Adirondacks, you should expect more than that, more like 6 inches of snowfall, 6 to 10 inches of snowfall. But for this next potential winter storm that would happen in the weekend, we'd be talking about anywhere between 3 to 6 inches of snowfall to potentially up to 6 inches right up along the border of New Hampshire and Massachusetts, which would impact the more populated areas. So that's certainly something to keep in mind while taking a look at the European model scenario. The snowfall is mainly right around 1 to 3 inches right over New Hampshire, upstate New York. So it isn't a ton of snowfall, but still certainly something to keep in mind when it comes to this Clipper system. I'll keep you guys updated once we get a better idea of where that rain snow line will be. But I will still expect Boston. It's going to be harder to receive accumulating snowfall from this specific Clipper system, mainly because it's likely the rain snow line is going to be quite a bit to the north of you guys, so definitely keep that in mind as well. And then that's not the only other Clipper system as well, because we have another one that could move through right around the Monday to Tuesday time frame, and now this could bring a heavier amount of snowfall to the interior northeast and even in the areas further southward where we see Boston, Albany, and even as far south as Hartford get involved with quite a bit of snowfall. I'll say this would dump an excess amount of snowfall anywhere between 3 to 6 inches over Albany, potentially into Boston as well, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. We're still around 5 days out, so there's still time for the forecast to change, but it's definitely interesting that the European model is also taking a relatively similar forecast where the snowfall is lighter, but definitely brings a snowfall as far south as New York City, in fact. So for those hoping for snowfall into New York City, there certainly is that possibility. Again, we're going to need to pay close attention to the amount of ridging just to the south of this Clipper system, but I could say in New England, you should be preparing right around the Monday timeframe for a large area of an additional 3 to 6 inches of snowfall on top of the first two Clipper systems we're expected to see over the next 5 days. So a lot of snow could accumulate over a lot of the interior northeast by this weekend. But that's it for now, guys, and I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content, and I hope you guys all have a great day.